Hello, everyone. It's Cam from Arsenal Theory Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. And we're going to be doing a review of the Everton versus Arsenal game from yesterday. Had a bit of time to mull it over and think on a few things. And firstly, great to have the football back after the international break. And even better to get 3 points and finally beat Everton at Goodison Park. We've lost there and drawn there, but mainly lost the last few years. And they're not a great team. There's no reason for us to be losing so many games at Goodison. And so it was nice to get that monkey off our back and chew out the toffees and finally get the 3 points and keep us towards the top of the table. So let's get straight down to business. Let's talk about the first talking point, which is Ramsdale and Havertz dropped and David Raya and Fabio in. And I've got to say, I wasn't surprised to see Vieira come in for Havertz. Havertz hasn't been playing that great and Vieira has, so that's pretty straightforward. I was surprised to see David Raya come in. A lot of people have kind of convinced me that essentially Mikel was waiting for Ramsdale to make an error and then he was going to bring David Raya into the team. Well, not really. He's just brought him straight in. And anyone out there that's thinking, oh, this is just rotational, it's not. He's the number one now, I feel. And from the game, I couldn't really see anything to suggest that we were worse off with Raya and Cole than Ramsdale. You know, the team looked very comfortable. He looked very, very comfortable. The defenders looked very confident with the goalie. He looked like he'd been playing there for several years. Didn't look like he'd just turned up. And he didn't look stressed. He didn't really get that animated. Now, admittedly, Everton didn't really pose much of a threat. So he did what he had to do. However, considering our record at Goodison, it was quite a big call to bring Raya in for this kind of game. It really was a test of character for him. Because you'd think, and I had thought that, what I'll do is he'll give him some time and some games and minutes, but it will be like a home game against someone who isn't really going to cause us many problems. Not a tough away game at Goodison Park. So fair play to Mikel for making a big decision. And also, fair play to David Raya for his performance and really laying a marker down. This isn't good for Ramsdale. Mikel has said about, if no one's safe and you can rotate goalies, and he's not going to rotate him. This talk of having a goalie for the Premier League and a goalie for the Champions League, I think is complete nonsense. We'll find out on Wednesday, I suppose, when we play PSV. I just don't understand why you wouldn't have your best team in the Champions League. And FA Cup, Carling Cup, I totally understand. You give your number 2 goalie, you run out there. But in the Champions League, unless you've already qualified or you're very, very close to qualifying, I don't understand why you would take the risk. So assuming Raya starts on Wednesday or starts in the North London derby, really that's the game. The Sunday game will really tell you where Mikel's at. But I think we could see it now that, he started his new toy. David Raya is the number one. And unless Ramsdale starts doing something incredible in training or Raya makes an error, he's going to stay there. And, the writing's been on the wall, I think, for Rambo. Unfortunately, there were errors last season that could have been avoided. There were shots he could have done better on. He's conceded a lot of goals against not a lot of shots. He's underperforming his expected save stats. He should have saved a lot more goals than he has. And when those things are happening and you're looking to challenge for a league title, those are margins that need to be corrected. And I think a lot of people are missing that. They're kind of going, well, Ramsdale's young, he can improve, he can be better. And it's like, we're trying to win the league. And if you're trying to win the league, you can't have a goalie. You're not going to win the league making the mistakes that Ramsdale had been making. So Mikel's ruthless. I know he's painting a nice picture of it. Oh, I'm rotating. Oh, it's not a number 1 or a number 2. It's who's right for the situation. Well, I think he's just trying to be nice. And deep down, I think Ramsdale will know. And I think as fans, we know as well that Raya's the number 1 now. So the defence, I thought, looked a lot better with Raya in goal. Again, it's Everton, and they didn't exactly try and do much from an attacking point of view. But whatever they did, Raya seemed to handle very well. The defense looked very comfortable, but then they had big Gabriel back there, which helped. Zinchenko, I thought, delightful on the ball. The only thing with him, I feel at the moment, is I think sometimes he tries to play passes a bit too quickly, and we get caught out, and he gets caught out, and we give away possession. Now, luckily, Everton aren't really great on the transition, so they couldn't hurt us. But against the likes of City and Liverpool, and even United, that's really going to be punishable, and we will be consequenced for those kinds of mistakes. So hopefully Mikel has got the video, the video recordings out and is going through it with Zinchenko. So, but overall, he had a good game, and the same with Gabby Magalhaes. He handled everything professionally. Was really unlucky not to get a kind of pre-assist, which we'll come on to in a bit. And also Saliba, I thought, looked very, very comfortable. Again, the level of calmness that was radiating from our defence, which stems from your goalie, I feel, really was comforting and nice to see. And Ben White was just solid, just very, very solid, very involved, very strong, supported Saka excellently. So the kind of, not the fallout, but the side effect of having Raya in goal, I felt, was absorbed by the rest of the defence, and we didn't look panicky at all, which was nice. Which was nice to see, because it's not been the case for the last kind of 6 months, really, I think. So, in terms of the first half, total dominance. If you watch the game, and if you watch Arsenal, you can tell normally how we're going to play after the first 2 or 3 minutes of the match. And we were just in complete control, knocking it about nicely. Eddie Nketiah, actually, he nearly put Odegaard through a lovely cheeky back heel. Didn't quite come off, though, unfortunately. But we looked like we were there to do business, and we quietened the crowd down. Now, you think of Goodison, and I thought of Goodison in the past, you think it's quite an intimidating atmosphere, which is probably one of the reasons why we've got such a terrible record there recently. But if you turn up and you have character and the level of skill that we have, which we showed, we just quietened the crowd down, and they were just not an influence on the team. They weren't an influence on Arsenal, and they weren't an influence on Everton either. They couldn't get the Everton players going. We just gave them nothing to get going at, really. And after the first few minutes, I was like, okay, we look like we're going to do something here today. And if we don't, it's going to be just a terrible individual error, or the ref decides to, do the same thing. And talking of the ref, the VAR got involved in our first goal. So the ball has come from the kind of Everton half right into Gabriel Magalhaes, who's sort of shanked it sideways. It's hit the Everton player, gone to Nketiah, who's flicked it to Vieira, who slipped Martinelli in and has gone through. Now, I didn't celebrate when the goal went in, because I suspected something dodgy was going to happen, especially after the United game where we got away with it with Garnacho. I say got away with it. I mean, it was an offside. But I felt here that Gabriel's played the ball sideways. It's hit the Everton player, and Nketiah is coming back from an offside position, but our Arsenal player hasn't had the last touch. But despite the Everton player playing it through, they've given it offside. And maybe last season the goal would have stood. Apparently, my mate Doug told me that the rules have changed. I don't know why they've changed it, because what you're now looking at is, well, has Gabriel deliberately played it off the Everton player, or has he done it accidentally? And you're into subjectiveness then, whereas it's offside, it's hit the Everton player. At the point he's hit the Everton player and gone through, it should be fine for Nketiah to lay it off without getting called. But VAR ruled it off, and then Martinelli, to add insult to injury, goes off injured straight away afterwards with a hamstring. And you're thinking, oh no, it's going to be one of those days. And I thought, oh, this is something that could turn the tide. In the past, that would be something that would affect Arsenal for the rest of the game. But we shook it off. We were turning the screw on Everton, but we didn't manage to really kind of nail it home. And Trossard came on. I didn't think he was playing that well. To be honest, I was kind of cussing him a bit. I felt he gave away possession a few times and wasn't really on the right wavelength. Obviously, he'll make me eat my words later on. But in terms of the first half, real dominance, but we didn't we just weren't able to carve that second or third opportunity. We had not a nice play around the edge of the area. There were double, triple teaming Saka, and we just couldn't find that way through. And obviously, when it's 0-0, anything could happen. So I was very glad to see in the second half that we felt like we came out with some more purpose. Obviously Mikel's got into the players at half time, and it looked like straight away we were going to make it happen and take more control, and probably realised that barring an individual error, Everton really didn't have much to threaten us with, which was the case really. And our Trossard scored an incredible goal. This is one of the best finishes I think I've seen in a long time. We worked it nicely from a corner. Odegaard plays it into Saka. Saka gets to the byline, cuts it back, and the ball's kind of bobbling a bit. And with the inside of his left foot, Odegaard just kind of edges it almost, but it had so much power on it. But he had hardly any backlift. He kind of edges it to the Pickford's right-hand side, in off the post. Goalie had no chance. The power he got on that, I don't know how he did it with such little backlift. Technique, I suppose. And really just a really incredible goal. And fair play to Trossard, because like I said, I didn't think he was doing that great up until that point, but he was a difference maker, and that's what you want in those situations. And really from then, you're just kind of thinking, okay, can we get a second and third goal? Because again, at 1-0, all it takes is a dodgy pass, a dodgy refereeing decision, and you got egg all over your face. And luckily, we managed to hold on strong. And really, one of the reasons for that, I feel, was the main man, Declan Rice, going from strength to strength. Everton had no answer to him. They couldn't match him physically or technically or mentally. He was just all over them. And any transitions that Everton tried to play through, he would snuff them out, pinging lovely balls to kind of the likes of Saka on the other side, to Trossard or Martinelli and Vieira, really involved in the play. And he was holding it all on his own as well. I mean, he was the only defensive kind of player in the midfield area. So just an incredible performance from him. The money we paid for him is a bargain. I really hope we can, I mean, there's only one Declan Rice, but I hope we can surround him with players of similar quality, because we're going to need them, because there's a lot of games and you just want as much of that kind of talent in your team as possible. And he was a big reason that I think our defence looked a lot stronger today, because they know, if you're Saliba or Big Gabby, you're looking ahead of you and you're seeing Declan Rice there, and that's got to give you confidence, hasn't it? It's got to give you confidence. You've got the confidence from having Raya in goal, and the confidence of having Declan Rice ahead of you. It must help massively. And Everton, like I said, they just really didn't have, they didn't really have much of an answer for it. So all in all, I think a deserved 3 points, definitely. I think in terms of kind of honourable mentions, Odegaard was very, very tidy, very, very silky. There is something, though, on that side with Saka. I do feel like Smith Rowe, when he was playing, had a better connection with Saka than Odegaard does, which is kind of like shocking that Mikel just hasn't given Smith Rowe any opportunities for the last 18 months, essentially. But I thought there were a few times where Odegaard's got the ball and he can't really drive forward with it too much. He's always kind of on the angles, whereas Smith Rowe could get down and create an overlap situation for Saka, or an inside or an outside overlap. But we don't really get that with Odegaard. But look, Odegaard's a captain. He's about to sign a new deal, so it is what it is. But I thought he played well, very tidy. Saka, each time he got the ball, they just double, triple teamed him, fouled him, did everything they could to stop him. So he could still manage to get the assist, though. So even in a game where maybe he didn't have his greatest game, he still had a goal contributing situation. So brilliant for him. I thought Fabio Vieira, I was worried that he was going to get overawed by the physicality of Everton. Didn't happen at all. Really didn't happen. He just used his class and his technique to ride the challenges, find the pockets, find the space, and he probably should have had 2 assists today. So well done to him. I think again, Ben White. I think I mentioned Ben White was fantastic at right back. Overlap with Saka, strong in the tackle, great defensively, just an all-out performer yesterday. Really, really good. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for Eddie. He had one kind of half chance in the first. Was it in the first? No, it was in the second half. And he took an extra touch when he should have shot first time, and he didn't really get anything else. In his defence, he didn't have much service, but sometimes you've got to make things on your own. So not a great situation for Eddie. And obviously Jesus comes on and looks as good as he does. It doesn't help things either. So we're going to, if I can get this to work, we're going to have a look at some of the stats from the game. And just a little thing here on footy stats, just to really show the level of dominance that we were having. 74% away from home. You can't complain at that. 8 shots, doesn't show the amount on target here. How Everton had 1 yellow card, I don't know. But look at the corners there, 1 to 11. And interestingly, Arsenal have done more fouls, which again, I just don't understand how that's possible. But that's what the stats are saying. 4 to 1. But the XG, 0.65 to 1.45. I think that's the lowest XG that Everton have had all season. So Arsenal, we were in control, but without really creating too many out-and-out opportunities. So whilst it was a mature performance, and we got the job done, it could have come back to bite us really. With it just being 1 goal, but that's just the pessimist in me. That's just the pessimist in me coming out. So yeah, we got some great content planned for the rest of the week. In fact, I'm doing another video with the Arsenal perspective, Rashid, later on, I think at 8 o'clock. So watch out for that. And we're going to be doing a preview of the Champions League. We're back in the Champions League, so I'll probably do something like that tomorrow. And later on in the week, we're going to be doing a preview of the Arsenal Spurs, the North London derby, where I'm thinking I'm going to have a special guest, Sean Monk, coming on the podcast. So fingers crossed I can get that sorted. So look, going from strength to strength. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Please comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.